Hello, brothers and sisters. You're in another episode of WDRS, the Wolf's Den Radio Show, and we are here in Malibu, California, in this wonderful, excellent guitar shop called Malibu Music, and it's in the what's this place called?
Trancas.
Trancas,
Yeah,
the
Trancas
Trancas
Country
Marketplace,
Market.
Country Market in Malibu, California, and I'm here with the co-owners. We got Jack Ryan Sullivan here, and Mr. Brad Boeckmann, very
Hello.
good friend of mine.
Yay!
Yay.
So welcome, gentlemen, and thank you very much for guesting in my
Thank you.
my
Our
podcast.
pleasure.
Yeah. So this is a beautiful store. I mean, the guitars here are just amazing, and I like the vibe. It's a homey vibe. It's the anti Guitar Center.
That's what we're going for.
Yeah. So I want to start with you, Jack. I want to know where you're originally from and how'd you come here to California?
Yeah, so I'm originally from South Carolina, in the upstate of South Carolina, not the nice part. The town where Deliverance was filmed.
Oh wow.
So yeah, that's why I play banjo too. So watch out.
Okay.
You're something else, some weird vibes, dude. Just saying.
Oh yeah, but no. So after I left after I left South Carolina, I lived in Atlanta for a while, moved back, lived in New York City for just a little bit, moved back, and then eventually moved to Nashville, Tennessee. I was a professional musician there, playing with a lot of folks I won't name because I like to talk ill of them later, so I won't mention names today. But anyway, I met my wife there, and I was playing on stage at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge. We moved to Richmond, Virginia, which is her hometown. We started a teaching studio there. We ended up getting up to about 600 students total. We had thousands come through, but we had 600 when I sold the business.
Oh
And
my gosh.
it was a very, very tedious business to run. But we sold that, and we came out here to California, sold our home because my dream was to be a film composer. And I realized that dream finally last year on a movie called Last Train to Fortune. It's a
Wow.
Western. And Beckett and I actually worked on that, and we wrote some songs for it, and we acted in it. Got my SAG card from that, which is
Right
cool.
on.
So,
So did you go on strike too?
yes, technically we're on strike.
Yeah.
I'm still recovering from that strike,
Oh.
but because of that strike, it's why I wanted to open up a guitar shop.
Oh, there you go.
That was the idea. I'm like, well, I know how to do this, and early in the career of film composing, I know this business. It's something that stays and it's fun. I'm like, this will be something to kind of keep going, and enjoy it, and bring something to the Malibu community. And
Why'd you choose Malibu?
there's no guitar shop here,
There you go.
so Brad and I were friends, and we talked on the phone, and he said, "Do you want a partner?" I said, "Well, not necessarily." And he says, "Well, I'll be a different kind of partner for you." And I said, "Well, let's talk," and then we did. So.
Okay. Right on. How long have you been playing guitar?
Long enough to play better.
Yeah.
But no, I'm 34. I'll be 35 this year. I've been playing guitar itself since I was 13.
Wow.
So
So
upright
pretty much
bass
all your-
before that. So
Oh, upright bass.
That was my first instrument.
Oh,
was
okay.
upright.
Did you play in a
So-
jazz band or something?
I did, but mostly church and things
Okay.
like that. The school orchestra, too. But that was my least favorite, was playing with the orchestra. The best was playing in church and with jazz bands.
Oh,
and
right,
stuff
right
like
on,
that. So-
right on. Okay, and you, Brad, I've known you for a very long time now. Maybe
Many years.
almost 20 years.
Yeah,
or
that's
maybe 20
Yeah,
years.
pretty close.
Yeah, and so you grew up here in Malibu, right?
Yeah, we had a weekend house here in Malibu. We lived in the
Okay.
San Fernando Valley, and on the weekends, particularly during the summer, we spent most of the weekends down here, and then maybe a week or two,
Yeah.
through the summer as well. Right down the street, about a mile away from here.
Yeah, I've been to that house. It's
Yes.
it's very nice.
Stunning.
Thank you.
It's very
Thank you.
nice. Nice sunsets over there.
Yes.
So I mean, because I know you from being a manager, or you're
Yeah.
general manager of Galpin Motors.
I was vice president.
You're vice president.
Yeah.
So that's all I knew about you
Right.
in your work life. But it was only when I got to know you that I discovered all your guitars in your house, and you were a guitar enthusiast. I mean, where
Yes.
did that come from?
When I was little, my mom loved the Beatles, so she always had the Beatles on. And so probably by the time I was 6 years old, like every other kid at that time particularly, everybody was running around with these, Beatle guitars.
Right.
And honestly, it started from there. I just always loved the sound of a guitar. And then, I started liking a little bit more country music and a little bit more bluegrass-ish music, and then it just kind of all fell into place because a lot of the stuff that was kind of rock and pop was kind of falling along that line in the 70s.
Yeah.
We had, the kind of the California rock movement.
Right.
And so that really hit me hard. And I didn't really play guitar. I had started picking up a guitar around 23 years old. And I was, a guy like a lot of us. I knew 2 or 3 songs that I'd figured out, how to play by looking in books, and then I played those for like 10 years straight, and other songs, and never with anybody else. And then somewhere along around, 14, 15 years ago, I started sitting down and hanging out with a friend of ours by the name of Gary Bowen. And Gary is a human jukebox, yeah. And we saw him playing at a bar, and we really liked him. And so I walked up to him in the middle of the gig one time when he was taking a break, and I'd seen him, like Tina and I'd seen him for like 3 weeks in a row. And I said, I don't know if I want to get guitar lessons from you or if I just want to play with you. And he goes, well, why don't we get together and find out? And that started, again, our relationship of hanging out pretty much every Tuesday night and him coming over and we play guitars and just, hack it out. And he was very, very patient with me. And then I started learning how to play with other people. And then, but I was still pretty involved in my career, and I didn't have a lot of time off. So when I finally got retired, which is going to be 10 years coming this June, which is amazing.
10 years already?
Has gone by. It's hard to believe. Hard to believe, yeah.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you, yeah. So after that, I started doing more playing the guitar and doing other stuff. And then just kind of over time, I really liked particularly acoustic guitars. And I like, the different materials. And I'm super always interested in, like, what does this wood sound like compared to this wood sound like? And, how does this size compare to this size as far as volume and depth and, frequencies? So I'm one of those guys that looks at it from that standpoint. Jack is completely a savant. I mean, he'll sit here, he'll pretend like, I could get better. I don't know how, because I've seen him play guitar. And, I've seen him play banjo, and I've seen him play mandolin. I've heard him play piano. I've seen him on the drums. Mandola. I mean, he's just one of those guys who can pick up pretty much anything and plays it really, really well, even though he doesn't say that. I, on the other hand,
from a boring small home.
Yeah. I, on the other hand, can hardly play chopsticks. I mean, wait, is this pianos? No, it's
but
not.
I gotta say, Brad. When I met you, you were still working, I think.
Yeah.
And you had started playing guitar with Gary.
Right.
When I first met you guys, and I noticed that when you retired. And I hadn't seen you because I was working so much.
Sure.
I was absent with
we're being adults.
Yeah, I was adulting, So I wasn't present in those jams. But then when I reconnected with you guys when this store opened, like how many? Was it a month ago already?
Yeah, just a month.
Yeah, a month ago.
Barely. I guess yesterday was a month.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and
from the grand opening,
you improved so much in your guitar playing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, really, seriously speaking, you really improved, and because I remember you had like 2 songs that you really liked to play before.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know the other one. That really rough.
I think it was Machine Gun Blues. And Gravedigger.
Gravedigger, Gravedigger, yeah. There was and you used to really pound those.
I still like to pound those out.
But now you've really gotten your finesse down.
Thank you.
And you
better,
really play.
Certainly better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Better and
if I ever got to sit down and jam it out with people that are like Jack, and we've been so blessed in our life to have musicians the quality of you guys, and other people that have just come through into our life over this last few years.
Yeah.
That when we have really these jams together, it's a pretty fun thing because the amount of talent and the amount of variation of who's good at what.
Yeah.
Really does.
It's a wide
very
range.
Broad.
Yeah.
And it's just everybody loves playing and having fun, and it always ends up being a good time, and the music always ends up being great. And then we sit back, a lot of us who are kind of, not quite as skilled as some of the other guys are. We'll just sit back and watch these guys battle it out, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Or like you guys did at the beach house, which was beyond cool, where you just make it really happen.
What's that tequila you like so much?
1942, Don
a lot of that helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, that doesn't hurt. It could be worse.
It could always be.
Yeah.
I gotta say about that tequila, there's no hangover with
No,
that thing.
no.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
amazed. I'm always scared when I go to his house because they bring out that tequila. I'm
Yeah.
like, holy
No,
shit.
you feel
I'm like,
you
holy
know,
shit, here we go again.
take a few shots of that, and all the world's problems are solved really
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah.
So
And you don't have a hangover the next day, so
No,
you
hey,
get
glad
to do
you
it
both-
again.
Glad you both enjoy it. You know, happy to serve.
yeah. So I wanna mention that like in your home, it's like a pretty much a Toys R Us for musicians. You know.
Yes.
So when did that would you call it a hobby of collecting instruments? When did that start?
It started actually, I think, as a grief, as a coping mechanism to grief. My mom and dad were getting up in age. My mom had pancreatic cancer, and Tina and I, or my wife and I, were spending. I have 4 brothers and sisters, and we all spent time taking care of my parents during the time period where my mother was kind of, slowly passing away. So Tina and I had the weekends. So we would go over there on the weekends and hang out. Now, prior to my mom having cancer, pretty much all of our free time was spent either traveling or we had a boat. We loved being out in the ocean, and we spent a lot of time out in the islands. But always with guitars on board, by the way.
Of course.
Yeah, because guitars and boats and ocean are like great combination. Anyway, long story short is when my mom started getting really sick, we sold our boat, which gave me extra cash. And there was a lot of guitars that I just started really falling in love with. And then over kind of the course of maybe a couple of months, it really started the ball rolling where I was looking on Reverb all the time. And I was just...
It's a dangerous place.
I didn't even care what they cost. At that point I was like, I got the money, I want that guitar, and so I bought a bunch of really cool guitars. And kind of went a little bit crazy. And honestly, I think it really was a coping mechanism because every time I get a new guitar, and I'd be like, oh man, this is like the best one, and then I get a better one, and then I get a better one, and then sometimes they come in, they wouldn't be as good, but at the same time, it was like, well, it's got something different than anything else. And by the time I finally got to the point where I got somewhat sane, I was about 80 guitars in, and some other instruments and stuff like that. So I had actually contacted Norm from Norb's Rare Guitars to sell him some guitars because I couldn't put them all in the car and take them down. I had too many that I wanted to sell. So anyway, he came over one day with a couple of guys. Jack happened to be one of them who was working with him at that time. And long story short is I sold Norm 18 guitars that day. He went away with some really beautiful stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And
All acoustic guitars?
they were all acoustics, yep. And I remember it's funny because Jack was kind of on the other side of the table at that point from me. And I mean, I think I did them well. So I really did. I really just needed space in the house at that point. So anyway,
you did a miss for
yeah.
your friend
And then
Norm.
sometime after that, long story short is I'd seen that Jack was going to be playing at his Malibu. He does
the Maui Sugar Mill.
Maui Sugar Mill, and he's playing with his band there. And I happened to see he was good there. And Tina and I were sitting around. It was a Thursday night, and I recognized from Facebook. It was like, hey, this guy who was up here was he's playing with the band. Why don't we go down and check it out? So we go down and check it out. But it turns out that night his wife is there, and his in-laws are there, and so we start talking, and we start getting along. And his father-in-law is a nut for cars, and he's like, oh. You're in the car business and you have a car collection, and I hear you guys have really cool stuff. So I said, yeah, let's go down. We'll meet, hang out, and get a chance to get to know each other, and we'll show you around the cars and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
it was good.
Well, long story short was Jack at this point I think had quit, and so at that point we had just didn't get to know each other at that point.
Yeah.
And so over time, I mean, he called me one night and he said, hey, I'm thinking about opening up a music store. And I go, where? And he goes, Malibu. And I'm thinking to myself, well, like half of it is ocean. Like, why would you go to Malibu?
Yeah, right.
Honestly, I was I'm thinking, what a dumb idea.
I mean, here we are, by the way. So.
yeah. But here we are, exactly.
Here's the dumb idea.
Yeah. And then he says, well, where in Malibu? And I was thinking he was going to say, up the street, kind of up, in the other part of Malibu. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, Trancas area, Trancas Market. And I was like, are you serious? And because our house that I grew up in for the last 53 years was right down the street, literally a mile, 0.2 down the street. Yeah. It just was like, wow. Well, and he was really just calling to say, what do you think about the idea, at that time? So I got off the phone with him, actually, and I said to Tina, do you have any interest in maybe going into business with Jack, in a music store? And she went immediately was like, yeah, that'd be kind of
When was this?
That'd be kind of cool.
What time was this?
Probably July or
August. I think it's August. Maybe.
Wow.
I think I
Yeah,
started
it's-
talking to these people here sometime in June before I even told
Yeah,
them
because
about it. 'Cause
by
I
the
kind of
time-
did some groundwork.
By the time I got involved in it, he had already investigated all this
okay,
stuff.
gotcha,
So he
gotcha.
was going to go off do it on his own.
Right.
And so that's when I got back on the phone with him. I said, "Look, you want to have a partner?" He said, "Not really." And I said, I said, "Well, do you have the money?" He says, "Yeah, I've got the money to do this." But he said, I don't have a whole lot more than that, but I've got enough to get this thing done. And I'm like, okay, well, here's what I want to do. I want to go ahead, help you get to a point where you end up buying the store out at some point in the future. But let's get you started by at least infusing some money, getting us on the ground floor. We'll be partners over time, assuming this thing's successful. Our concept is eventually he'll end up owning the majority of this business.
Okay.
So, but it's he's 34 years old. I'm 64 years old. So the point is we're really just trying to do something that's fun for us, and also I like Jack a lot, and he's he's a good Christian guy. I think I'm a good Christian guy. We like
try to be.
we like what we both believe in.
Yeah.
Even though he dresses like the devil. I mean, but some guys that's what it takes to get through to him. What can I say?
Yeah.
I should say too. I mean, Brad and Tina. I mean, their whole family is just the most generous people you'll ever meet. I mean, that
I know
for
that.
sure.
Yeah,
And,
for sure. Yeah.
they're so generous. You almost feel bad because they want to take such good care of their friends and their family and the people that they love, and you always want to try to do something back for them. But you're like, what can I do?
Yeah,
back
what
for
can
them?
I do?
That's and they really are like that. I mean, that's the thing. Brad has nothing to gain from the store. Tina has nothing. They don't have anything to gain from this except our friendship. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all they can gain. Because
That's not true. I love sitting here and hanging out.
Well,
And
exactly.
this is not a bad place to hang
No,
out.
not
And
at all.
you're not a bad person to learn music from, by the way. And I kind of like you. So, and I got Beckett over here who's in the background, and Beckett is Beckett McDowell. Beckett McDowell is our employee here, who is also Malcolm McDowell's son.
Yep.
And he may not want to necessarily be introduced like that, but I just bring it up because he's just a wonderful guy, and
he's
a big part of the store.
talented
So
singer.
there you go. And if you get a chance, you should check out Wildfire on YouTube under Beckett McDowell.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
great.
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll probably can put a link up to that or something.
Yeah, sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Okay, so I want to get into your guys' music taste because, of course, with music lovers, I always have to ask, and this is a music podcast. I always got to ask. So let's start with you, Jack. Who are your current favorites, and who got you into music?
Well, that's a loaded question.
As a kid.
Well, so my current favorites. I mean, I'm big into the classics. My favorite probably musician is Les Paul. And then Glenn Campbell, Brent Mason, Django Reinhardt,
Ooh, Django,
Chet Atkins, of course, Jerry Reed, Doc Watson, Merle Travis, Hank Garland, who's from my hometown. I mean, just all these really great, wonderful guitar players. Current guys, of course, I love Brad Paisley because, not only does he write, great songs, his current stuff not so much, but before it was really good. But and I have to say that
You're going to
because,
endear people to us with that shit.
of course.
Okay, just saying.
But no. I mean, I really like. He's a wonderful guitar player, singer, songwriter, all that stuff. Chris Stapleton, of course, the Steel Drivers. Bluegrass music, if it's good. Keyword, if it's good. That's the whole thing. I mean, I appreciate film scores. That's what I do. So I love John Williams, of course, and Hans Zimmer. But my favorite, of course, is Danny Elfman. He just is. Mm-hmm. He's the most creative one out of all of them. Shoot me if you don't agree, of course. But
he does all kinds of music.
he's incredible.
Oh, yeah.
He's a really cool guy too. He actually voiced Jack Skeleton. I don't know if you knew that on Nightmare Before Christmas. It was Danny Elfman doing the voice, which is pretty cool.
And he just did a bunch of shows last year. He played
yeah.
Coachella
and then he also played at the Hollywood Bowl. And the whole thing.
That was a great show, by the way. I was there.
But the guy that got me started was the guy who introduced me to this whole world. I mean, the whole music retail thing and session stuff. I mean, all the instruments I played. This guy named Jimmy Rogers in South Carolina. Not the singing Broeckmann, but this other guy. He owned the music store where my grandfather bought me my first guitar. He owned the music store where I learned all this stuff. I got, several equivalents to doctorates because of him, in music and in music retail and all the things. He could play all the instruments. He was, to this day, the greatest guitar player I've ever heard in my life, and he taught me. And never gave me a single lesson, but he still taught me. That was one of those things, and I'll always be grateful for him, because without him and my Papa Jack, I would be pretty screwed right now. So, I didn't have a mom and dad growing up, so I had but two very strong men in my life, and then my grandmother, so I was very, very thankful for them. And I think that's probably why I always kind of gravitate towards, a older male figure in my life, like Brad, because I didn't, they're all gone now, so here we are.
They're not all gone. I'm still here.
Yeah, exactly.
How about you, Brad? I mean, who were you, like, growing up? Who did you
Beatles, the Beatles obviously were kind of huge, and everybody who was back then, it was the Who and it was the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
And, it was all the big acts back then.
Can I ask you? I always ask people of your era this question because I'm younger, and
Yeah.
I was like I was a baby when that all that shit happened. So it's very legendary to me. It's very mythical. That era. What did it feel like when let's say, because I personally think that 1967 to 73 is like the golden era of rock. Like,
Yeah.
everything just just was amazing. I mean, from my perspective, how was it for you? It's like
I was still young because I was born in 1959, so 69 I was 10 years old. So I was kind of at that point where AM radio was huge.
AM, that's right.
Yeah. I think it was 94.0 KHJ or whatever the hell it was out here back then. But long story short was, so a lot of it was very poppy, kind of coming into the 70s. You had some, people like Cream, that were coming out, that were super strong. And, just starting to think about the beginning of the 70s. Strangely, one of the biggest bands that I picked up on around 73, 74 was Jethro Tull. It was like they just, they captured me from the very first time that I heard them.
Yeah.
And I think Jethro Tull's one of those bands you kind of either, really like them or you dislike them,
Yes.
But I really liked them very much. And then, anything that really, Eric Clapton, was in through those iterations of, the different band sets, and Steve Winwood along with him and all that stuff was all very good
Steve
during
Winwood.
that time period. Yeah, Stevie Wonder, exactly. There was starting to come out a little bit more edgy music, I mean, it was really more in the 80s when you had the punkish stuff starting to hit.
Right.
But there were elements of things that they were starting to kind of come in then, and those were kind of cool because a lot of them were, really guitar gods that, Robin Trower and, stuff that at that time, Pink Floyd was starting to kind of hit hard then. So those were some pretty moody things, that you'd listen to. And again, at 13 years old, I hadn't discovered, how to take drugs or anything. So I heard the music as it was really produced, And there was a lot of great music produced. And then you also had this kind of wall of sound thing, which was, this Phil Spector side of the world that was huge. And then you also had, the rhythm and blues side in the black world that was really coming on strong, super, super strong. I mean, end of the 60s.
The whole Motown thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that was as big as anything on the radio, with me when I was growing up. But the Beatles were, again, the first thing when I was, 5, 6 years old. So when 1964 and
the high guitar Beatles.
Exactly.
Okay, not the beard Beatles.
No, but again, I think once you started liking the Beatles, I don't know if anybody, there may have been people that said I don't really like the later stuff as much, but they took us all for a really good ride. And I think a lot of us who hooked into the Beatles in the very beginning grew with them also.
Yeah.
And so I don't know anybody who says, "Oh, I like the early Beatles." I don't really hear that comment.
I like the later Beatles.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I like
They're very creative.
and I like John Lennon's songs.
Yeah.
Infinitely the most, I think. I mean, I think because I relate to him.
Yeah.
Because of the whole,
He's
childhood thing.
he's a moody guy.
His mom sucked, my mom sucked, so it's all good stuff.
Well, I had a mom that died at 9, so I guess my mom sucked too, huh?
Yeah, how dare her? Damn it!
Suddenly it's a therapy session. Well, sorry about that.
Hey, we're in the couch, We're in the couch. So how about these days, what do you listen to? I know you're a big Dave Matthews.
Yeah, I
fan.
mean, the truth is, oftentimes when I get into the car, I'll pretty much put it on like pop radio, which is kind of crazy. But
Okay.
I really do like '90s, 2000s, 2010s.
Yeah.
And, but if I'm going to go out and like want to be at a concert, it'll be a Dave Matthews concert. It'll be an Eric Clapton concert. It'll be somebody significant enough where I want to go out of the house because these days going to a concert, unless I'm really into it,
Oh my God.
it's just a hassle.
It's like going camping.
It
dude.
is. Yeah.
I'm not a concert guy.
Yeah,
People
really.
make fun of me. I mean, I have played a lot of them, but
Yep.
I don't go to concerts.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I've told you,
Yep.
you've invited me a few times. Like I don't
Yep.
know if it's for me.
Yeah.
I don't do. It's the crowd thing,
Oh, okay.
Blame it on
Well, it's,
blame it on a little bit of autism showing,
Okay.
But
Well, especially here in LA, I mean, it's like I said, it's like going camping.
Yeah,
It's like you
yeah.
have to pack up
Yeah.
the car.
Yes,
You have
yes.
to go there like 5 hours earlier.
Yep.
Look for parking in Hollywood, and it's like, and then when you get there, it's like you're trying your best not to spend so much money.
That's
I
right.
like
That's
I like a coffee shop. You can go
Yeah.
in here,
Oh,
somebody
right,
play like a little trio or something, and I can
Like intimate.
sit,
Yeah.
sit at a couch or a table, enjoy my coffee, and get the hell out of there when the time comes.
Open mic nights are fun.
Yeah.
It's like it depends on who's playing, but sometimes those can be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Even if the people aren't great, it's just
Hey,
gonna be kind
man.
of the
Everybody sounds
vibe.
good with liquor.
that's
The more
Hey,
you
there's
drink, the better we sound. The more we sound, the better you drink.
that's right. There is one thing that I haven't seen yet, but I want to see, and that's we were just in Las Vegas, and it was the Sphere, and where YouTube has been playing.
You too.
Yeah, we went and we saw the Sphere experience because YouTube was not playing while we were in town. But I'm telling you, that would be a place that I'm recommending anybody who's in Las Vegas, if you get an opportunity to see a YouTube at the Sphere, you should go.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, go to the Sphere anyway, because it's just an amazing,
Yeah, I
amazing,
wanna check
amazing
it out.
complex.
Yeah,
And it is just mind-boggling how cool something that large can be.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I've seen videos when U2 was playing, and like on Instagram, people are
Yeah.
putting up clips, and like it's like the greatest backdrop a band could ever have.
It is.
Shit, man.
Really
It's
good.
incredible.
Yeah. So anyway, moving forward, can you guys explain how the show, how the store works? I mean, these guitars are like amazingly worn and torn, but I bet they sound beautiful. So what's the story behind the?
Well,
what's
some-
the concept behind
Some
the story?
came out of Brad's personal collection. Some came out of mine, and the others, we went out, bought. Some are new, some are used. We go and find them in various places. I mean, it could be, a estate sale. It could be that someone calls me up and says, "Hey, I got this great guitar, and I would like to sell it." And typically, if we can pay them enough to where we don't feel like we're taking advantage of them, but also little enough to where there's some bread on the table to pay for the overhead, then we'll buy it.
Right.
That's kind of how it goes. It's give and take. We have to try to explain to everyone that when we're buying a guitar from them, we're not just buying the guitar. We're paying the employees, we're paying the rent,
Right,
we're
yeah,
paying
yeah,
everything else, and then
yeah.
we've got to sell it to where we can make enough money to hopefully at the end of the day take it home and eat a McDouble. So
How many guitars do you think you have in the store right now?
I would say close to 100, I guess. If it,
Wow. My favorite one is the piss bucket.
Oh yeah, it's a fun one.
It's the first time I saw it,
It's
it's like,
unusual.
holy shit! And then I started strumming. It's like, hey, it doesn't sound bad at all.
Yeah, but I just don't like touching it.
Yeah, you don't know where it came from.
Yeah. Don't know what's been in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I know it's been in there, actually. That's the reason I don't like touching it.
Well, believe it or not, it's never been used. So,
How do you know?
huh?
How do you know?
I tasted it.
There you go.
Sorry.
There's Jack's hammer coming out. Coming out. Yeah.
Oh man.
See what I live with? Okay.
Yeah. So with that said, I asked you guys to pick 2 guitars from the store that you want to feature,
Yeah.
and let's start with Jack's guitar here. With
Yeah.
His pick. And is there a story behind this guitar?
Well, it's
What kind of guitar is this?
Well, this is a 1969 Fender Telecaster Thin Line. This is the first year that these things were sold. Very cool. A lot of people say that they got some from 1968, but they don't. The 69 was the year. This is a very cool guitar. What makes this one super special is how light it is. I mean, feel that it's a very light.
Holy
electric guitar.
shit!
It may be 5.5 pounds. Which
Oh
is
my God.
insane. You know, it's not a cheap guitar. You know, you're gonna pay for this one because it's a very special one. But it's it's worn in all the right places. Somebody loved the hell out of this guitar. You know,
It's
it's not beat up. You know, but it is worn as it should be. The thing is, I always worry so much about a vintage guitar that's not been played.
Yep.
You know, when they're not played, it probably means they weren't very good. I
Yeah.
mean,
That's the owner.
You want to see that someone actually played this thing. You want to see wear on the neck. You want to see wear on the body.
You see dried sweat and
You see that, you know that this thing was worth playing. It was
Right.
a pleasure to play. You start seeing them showing up, 60, 70 years old, and they look brand new. You probably got a guitar that was made on a Friday. And guitars made on Fridays, no thank you. They're trying to get out of there. And, some people will disagree, but, if you see, when I see a super clean guitar, first thing I wonder if it's been refinished. That's the first thing I always wonder. But if it's not, play it. It may be one that they just put up under the case. A soldier could have went away, went to war and died, which is very sad, but we see that a lot in this business. But you see one that's well worn, there's a reason behind it, and it means.
where did this guy come from?
This one right here, a friend of mine actually reached out to me. He lives back east, and he owns a very small store, and he doesn't sell high-end guitars. So we got it from him for a good deal, and he got it actually from the original owner, which was pretty cool.
Wow.
So
You want to play something on it?
yeah, it's not plugged up, but it does actually sound very good acoustic. I mean, you'll be able to hear it.
It sounds like it's been played.
Sounds great, right?
Yeah,
I mean, and this isn't plugged up. That was just the acoustic tone of the guitar.
I love the pick guard, man. It's
Oh yeah, it's all worn in. You can tell they put their pinky right there.
all right. Yeah.
And I mean, that means somebody liked this thing.
And I mean, we all know that the only way that a guitar gets its true sound is if you play it. If you don't play it, then it's just
Same thing with a set of old drums.
same.
Drums, man, you can play those things in. They
Yeah.
sound amazing.
It sounds amazing. Yeah, I should know.
Yes, I was gonna say.
How about you, Brad? What's your pick?
This is a 1935 Martin 018K for Koa. It's a conversion, which I'm guessing means it was probably a slack key or something along that line beforehand. But it is an absolute stunning, beautiful guitar. I believe there is no cracks at all on this thing.
Let's
And
show
it
it to
is
the camera.
light and it is absolutely a beautiful,
that.
stunning guitar.
Oh yeah,
is
we
light.
love that guitar so light.
Yeah,
It plays so good too. It does
Well,
not need a
and-
neck reset. Needs nothing done to it.
exactly. I'm going to go ahead and let my friend Jack, who actually can play this thing much better than me, play this thing much better than me. So with that, Jack, here you go.
Brad's being humble, Brad.
Well, no, the truth is, like, if you've got talent like Jack in the room, it's like having Don Henley as a singer. You should use Don Henley.
Right. Oh my God, dude!
Doesn't that give you goosebumps?
Oh my God!
I mean, absolutely, Jack. It gives me just like it raises the hair on my arms.
It's a gorgeous guitar.
I love when you play everything so well. Every style, it's just amazing. So anyway, that's one of the reasons I want to be in business. You get somebody this talented, you want to hang on.
Man, that guitar sounds. I mean,
Yeah, isn't it
remarkable?
when you did, can you do harmonics again?
Oh yeah. Let's see. Oops, sorry.
Whoa. It's so clear. Oh my gosh.
Isn't that beautiful?
Oh,
The clarity of the
it's
notes.
so clear.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Separation of the notes is really great.
Yeah, awesome.
And the frequencies, I mean,
So what year was this again?
1935. Yeah. So pre-war.
Right.
It's one of the golden years, I guess you call
But
it.
you know, it does the blues thing.
Oh, yeah. It's just got a lot of spirit, this guitar.
It's a great guitar.
Bravo, bravo,
Yeah.
bravo.
Yeah, absolutely excellent.
Very good. So, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your time.
Yeah,
and,
thanks for coming.
Congratulations on your store, Brad and,
Thank you,
and
Wolf.
Jack. It's a really cool store.
Well, thank
and
you.
Malibu Music in the Trancas Country Market,
Where every day is a winding road.
where every day is a winding road, man. It's Southern California, baby. So thank you very much, sisters and brothers, for joining me and Jack and Brad for another episode of the Wolf's Den Radio Show, WDRS. Adios, amigos.
Adios,
Take care. We'll
amigos.
see you next time.